right, hey folks. Day after Thanksgiving, I have some fairly open schedules, so I can start a little late and get some artwork done. Let's see. I want to check my signal to make sure we're coming through clearly. We'll then get into this. So doing a mic check here real quick. Mic check. Make sure I'm using the right microphone today. Doing a mic check here real quick. Mic check. Make sure I'm using the right microphone. Yeah, that sounds pretty clean. All right, so let's drop that down there. I'm going to do some quick social media posts, and then we'll get kicking. So hold on here real fast. I've got a couple buttons to press. Let me regale you with my origin story while we do that to distract you from the fact that I'm just pressing buttons here. Well, hey, Vinny. How you doing, my guy? So yeah, great. For those that don't know, so if you're new to the stream or just checking in, my name is Phil Kearney. Hey, I create role-playing games. I illustrate them and I publish them online. And we are currently building an adventure for Eberron in the Dungeons and Dragons setting of hold on. I skipped a beat. Okay, we're creating an adventure in the Eberron campaign setting for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition that we'll be publishing on the DMsGuild once we are complete building it here on stream. It's called Crystals of Mabar. This is a book cover that we created for it that you can see here on screen. Back around episode 40, and we finished up, we did some maps for a couple hundred episodes and then came back like around 260 to finish up the lettering. So if you want to check the Wayback Machine of the full list, you can check all that stuff out. Let me fix my window hierarchy here, so there we go. And yeah, book cover turned out really nice. I'm happy with it. So you'll see this on the DMsGuild when it kicks up. I'll obviously have a lot of notifications about that. I'm on the X Twitter platform if you want to get those notifications at Phil Kearney, where I place illustrations, works in progress, coupons, notifications, and articles about different projects that I'm involved with. Here, for example, was an article from Polygon about the Subclasses Revived, which is just, actually, if we want to take a look at that real quick here, let's click over here into, let's go down to my, yeah, here we are, Subclasses Revived, Revivified. This just went gold, so it went gold right before the holiday, and that's the fastest moving project I've been involved with in years, so I was thrilled to participate in that. It's super cool. Here on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications of when we are live in the future. All the books that I've created are on DMsGuild that are listed down here. Check them out. My Discord channel if you want to ask any questions, hang out, or build stuff with me. My Patreon if you want to support the efforts, and that catches us up with everything. So let's get back to work, shan't we? I'm going to drop this out of the way, and hold on real quick. We got a heating pad in. It's starting to heat up more than I need it to. Hey, right on. Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'm going to take a sip of coffee here before we get kicking. So, before I continued working on characters today, I wanted to make sure I developed the far background. So I'm going to fold this up here. Yeah, I'm liking how everything is sitting. There's not much need for much more line work. This is all going to resolve itself. I mean, it is pretty small on the page. This is 5.5 inches wide. Actually, from the tip of this mock-up frame to here is about 5.3 inches, and then this space tall here is about 3. Yeah, it's about 3 inches. So, no, wait a second. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 3 inch by 5.5. So it's like a little. What is that? 5 by 5 3. It's going to be basically like a 1/5, 1/6 of a page, something roughly like that. So let's drop some. Let's make sure our black and white is up and kicking, and let's see if we can draw vertical lines. Success. Hey, what's up? 70 yesterday to 40. Where in the world are you at? Here in Seattle, it's 38 degrees. It's been a pretty stable 38-ish in Seattle for the past week. But Pacific Northwest doesn't. It's a coastal, so it enjoys the benefit of the water doing a pretty good job of modulating how cold it's gonna be. Hey, right on, right on. I hope you or anyone that you know wasn't too horribly impacted by the most recent storm. Just making a little silhouette back here. Jump, 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 jump. First, I'm just gonna lay down the. This is what I should be doing, like this. And then cut a line through it, and then take up the smudge to 100% so it pulls all pixels all the time. Want to clean up this in here to look just a little less stupid. Here. And we can just do a simple wash. I'm going to zoom in a little bit just to make sure that all our lines are clean so when I do the wash it doesn't break. Here. I don't know why well, I know I'm practicing. That's what happens when I get hyper obsessed about like lines and angles and little curves like this. When I erase them over and over again, it's not that I specifically want it to look a particular way. Most of the time, I just kind of let it free flow and then make whatever I create work. But so when I get in this little fidgety of deleting and then redoing, it's that I don't like the way that the angle matches up with the line, so I futz on a little bit. But every time I do that, it's course correcting, so it becomes I get better at making skill shots. Here, that. See, good. That was a good skill shot. Landed just perfect. The better you get at skill shots, the more the easier it gets for you to like be able to do vanishing point perspectives or geometric stuff like angles and curves and things, because you're gaining more control over the tools that you use. It's that mastery of the tools that's really important, because once you get really, really good at implementing the tools that you use. Is that the word that they use in 5e now? Implement, I think it is. But yeah, the more you're capable of accomplishing technically with the tools that you use, the more they are free to be able to produce the things that you imagine. Because you become less and less bound by your technical skill. It's kind of logical. Like the further you can push the physics of the tools you use, the more fantastical the results can become. I don't know if that makes any sense. So my, I believe, hold on, where are we at? We're at 7:30 right now. So I'm probably going to be doing this for the next hour and a half. We'll go till 9 o'clock this morning, Seattle time. Then I'm going to take a break so I can clean up my kitchen and get myself ready for a normal weekend. But then I'm going to come back around at lunchtime. I'm thinking 11 o'clock here in Seattle. We'll jump back on stream for a few hours, and I want to continue working on the Spelljammer subclasses that I've been building out. So I've been doing a lot of color mana and martial power design work the past couple weeks, and I stepped away from working on Spelljammer content pretty much altogether to prioritize the mana projects. But I miss working on Spelljammer. Spelljammer was my favorite setting. Even though I ended up playing in Planescape a lot more. Planescape and Dark Sun are probably the two places I spent the most time in 2nd edition. But Spelljammer was by far my favorite setting. So that it's on the DMs Guild and that I am able to create as much Spelljammer content as my heart is content and be able to actually publish it to the platform with the name. It's something about being able to use the name, like actually like the name itself, like actually being able to create books that are Spelljammer books. It feels good being able, because I'm such a fanboy of all these IPs. Pretty much any, well, not any, but there's like a lot of the campaign settings that TSR produced. I just fucking love. So it's really a fanboy's delight to be able to use so many of these IPs to create my own ideas and bond them to the identity of the settings that inspired them. Like I know there's a lot of vehicle combat mechanics for 5e that are out there on Kickstarter, and I respect that. How many of them were like, this is motivated because there are no good airship mechanics. Like Wizards pretty much dropped the ball on 5e vehicle combat. So I get that other people are not using Wizards as, DMs Guild as their location, because they're moving out and beyond what the scope of what Wizards is doing, but they like the 5e engine. From my perspective, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm going to be implementing that myself, but here's the difference. For me, the only reason why I want to make vehicle ship combat mechanics is because I fucking love Spelljammer so much that I want to have the best mechanics possible for that setting. So the color mana system, I wouldn't give a shit about color mana if I didn't love Magic the Gathering so much. So all these IPs that Wizard owns, that's just the source of inspiration and excitement for me to be able to endure thousands of hours of production time in making these books. There has to be a little bit of fanaticism in there. So to me it feels respectful that I'm acknowledging where these things are coming from and building the tools to be able to actually complement the IPs that are inspiring them. But like the Guilds and Kingdoms system, for example, that wasn't inspired by anything specifically. It works well with Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica and Eberron guild houses, for example, but it wasn't specifically inspired by those settings, those IPs. So I don't feel beholden to them. So from that perspective, yeah, I can maintain my own ethos and start creating 5e type content out on ttrpg, and then I could go back. It's like, hey, this Guild and Kingdom book's super cool. Let's build Ravnica guilds out of them, and I can put that on my Patreon as fan content. But like the book itself isn't going to be on DMs Guild, so I can't really use it to create DMs Guild content. But that's okay, because no one wants to pay for a book. It's like, hey, here's how you can run the Boros Legion as a guild in your Ravnica campaign setting. I mean, there would be people that were interested in that, but the likelihood of them willingly pay for third-party content and be interested in Ravnica and find it is like a subgroup of a subgroup of a subgroup, and it's completely just a passion project to build something like that. So if I'm going to do that, I may as well put it on my Patreon, because it would be a passion project. You can't expect to get any sales like that, so there's no sense really asking for any. It just becomes promo material. And if I'm really that excited about building out guild mechanics for all of the Ravnica guilds, then I may as well just put that on my Patreon, because it's never going to make any money. And it's not really going to drive any eyes to the stuff that I need it to, because it's going to just get passed over so much. So marketing has a limit on what you can dive into before it just becomes I'm just making art at this point. Like no one's going to care. Man, I thought my rambles on this morning. Strap in, I guess. I should catch up with the audience and see what's going on in the world. What's up? Yeah, no kidding. God, I can imagine shifts. As far as I know, we're good. It wasn't super far from the Triad, but still close enough to get to the Outer Storm, so we're good. Whew, wow. How's my... I'll catch up with you there. And I've got some of the books, but I've never gotten to use any of it. And the sad truth is, art is what it is. So the idea, like I dreamt of being a freelance artist for a living, and for a few months at least, I was able to sustain myself in the early 2000s doing character art commissions. But I just want to stab out my eyes after a while looking at different requests for unique art that's willing to pay the price that I want to feel like my time is being productive. And it was taking me down a rabbit hole I did not enjoy being in. So I kind of dropped that, which is what basically about that same time, it's DMsGuild started drawing my attention. I finally started getting into 5e. I didn't play much 4e. And so when 5e came out, I was into the Cypher system in Numenera, and so I'd gotten off of like a 2-year Dark Sun campaign using 3e and Pathfinder rules, and I wanted to change of pace, so we put together basically a 9-month Cypher system campaign that we ran in Eberron. Eberron using Cypher system is crazy delicious. The pulp fiction style of Eberron's campaign setting plus the Cypher system mechanics really complement each other. Like Cypher does really well in like Indiana Jones style adventuring, and so that was a freaking great campaign to run. And then at the once we came to a resolution with that, we ultimately stopped playing Cypher because the team the goal, like the objective of Eberron is to reduce the dice. To reduce the risk to your character to a point where you don't even have to roll the dice. You just automatically succeed at the task that you attempt, because you've been able to accumulate enough advantages on your character sheet. Every time you find like a perk or an advantage or like an edge or a circumstance, it drops down the difficulty of the skill. And it's a D20 test. Roll high, beat number. But the side game is, your goal as a character is to drop the DC down to the point where the DC is literally 0, so there's no point in rolling a die. And if you can't drill it down to 0, now you have to roll a die. But with as many benefits as you've gotten, you get the DC as low as possible, so that you can hit the number with what you have. And ultimately, our team enjoyed adding benefit, like stacking advantages and stacking numbers to increase the number, keep the DC the same, but stack up our die rolls so that it would get higher. And the idea that there's the mentality was, if we're doing like the DM can negotiate with the players to target the DC, which was rubbing wrong against the team narratively. It's like, no, the difficulty is the difficulty. You don't negotiate the difficulty of the task. And so that was a clash. And then on top of that, it was during that negotiation, it's the DMs just making up new challenges or ways to complicate the situation. And the team at the time was like, it just feels like you don't have any actual encounters prepared. You're just improvising everything in the moment, which is the point of the Cypher system. But when that vibe isn't jiving with your team, it's a bad fit. So I did learn a ton of improvisation techniques and being able to think more on the fly about building circumstances. Like that was really great invested time for me as a DM. It made me much stronger to do that. So if there was a point to my ramble, I would say that a moral to this ramble is playing other games is definitely good, so that you can understand how different action loops can be built, or how you can use resources differently, or how you can focus the narrative or the virtual camera inside of your game in different directions. It's valuable to be able to accumulate those skills, and the only way you can really have good skills is through variety. So highly recommend. But in Cypher, if you're into improvisation and you like that negotiation feel, Numenera, our Cypher system in general, is an excellent system. I personally have no real complaints about it, other than I don't like, I honestly don't like the experience point system. The way that you gain experience points and then can spend them on the fly. Like our team just naturally gravitated to increasing stats, increasing your level, increasing your edge, and then spending on artifacts, which became like basically like permanent feats or permanent magic items that you personally gain just through spending experience points. I love that idea of getting gear on your own, but it was so leaning in favor of creating permanent benefits for themselves that it just became a really kind of a reduced system. Like they wanted more grit in the system, and it wasn't providing enough options and directions to build their characters, and it was just like, I guess like too simple is a word, which is ironic because I'm really loving the simplicity of ability check adventuring, and I wouldn't have been able to get there if it wasn't the Cypher system. So that was really cool. Hey, what's up? I wanted to make a D&D version based on Flight Rising for a long time. It feels like something the FR community absolutely love, but the elements and sheer variety among Dragonkind is hard. I don't know anything about Flight Rising. There's too much content out there. There's no way I can know even 1% of all of it, and that is an example of a piece that has gotten away from me. Let's do this. I love doing little silhouettes as backgrounds. There's I don't know that like that paisley 60s style of wallpapering, like with the little splotches. I think those splotches are called paisley. I could be wrong. Correct me if I am, audience. But here. But it gives me that the silhouette sort of just like backdrop. Like I don't need to do color details and lighting and stuff. This is just a fadeaway background. So that's the tree line. I'm going to put in some bushes. I'm going to just put in some jags in like this. And then we'll end up merging these lines together here. So I'm just going to scratch across here. In the forest maps that we have hedges. There's like little tiles of hedges that you can drop onto. There's like just a base. I could take a quick tangent here to show this off because I fucking love it. So I guess I will. Hold on. Crystals of Mubar. Art. Act 1. Region 2, Forest. This one's relatively small. Wait for that to pop open. Okay, great. Okay, so here's a base floor that we basically built up, a forest floor. And then here we have clusters of rocks that fit inside the grid, right? So we have our grid, and then we have our floor, and then we have these little rock tokens that we made. And let's see if I can find which one this one is. Here we go. So here's this little cluster of rocks, and this cluster of rocks is made of different little groupings here. And these groupings, for instance, here are made up of individual tiles of stones. And you can see that this tile stone here, and let me find it. Here we go. Here and here. Like this style tone, this style of stone, And this style of stone, it's the same. These are like little template pieces, right? This one here, this triad 1, 2, 3. It's the same as here, as here, as here. It's just replicating patterns, but you rotate them. So you rotate them 25 degrees, or you flip them, mirror them, and so these all are little rock tokens that are individual assets that you can drop into your tabletop. Like if you really want to build a map for yourself, you get a base template, you get a bunch of rock clusters, so you can create these little shapes. This becomes difficult terrain for characters to traverse. Then we fold all this stuff up together, and I'll catch up with you on text here in a second. I'm just on a tear. Here's our thickets. So you can see, like, we have the little margins between, so you can maintain your grid line. But these thickets are built the same way. This and this, these are the same token here and here. This and this are the same token. This and this are the same token, but they're rotated. This and this are the same token, but they're mirrored. Here's a full square, which is the same as these 2, 3 here. But when you pull back and you look at them, it's just like 3 or 4 different tiles. But when you pull back, you can chain them all together to make these organic shapes. So in the forest, these are hedges, and they block your view. They create obscurement, and they're difficult terrain to. What are they? They're obstacles, so you can't cross through them. So rocks are difficult terrain that you can cross through at half speed. The hedges are impassable terrain, and then we drop in trees. And on the trees, we have, here's the actual skeleton of the tree in this particular map. Here's some additional trees. So we have a separate layer for, well, these are all grouped up separately, but it's going to be a pain in the ass to tear them all apart. But in this tree here, each one of these trees has its roots and its trunk here, and the edge where it provides obscure, where it provides blocks line of sight from the sky. And then, so if you're aerial, this is what you would see, and then if you drop below the tree line, this is what you see. And so the obstacles remain, and you can see where this is open space here, and then this is underneath the canopy of the tree. There you go. So these are all individual pieces that can get dropped into the virtual tabletop, or you can print the black and white versions out and then cut them out and then put them down on your tabletop on your favorite ChessX scroll grid. But it's a tool set, so you get a forest tool set with this adventure. So you get all the adventure, and we build out all the maps, but on top of that, with the maps, you now get your own toolkit so that you can build as many forests infinitely as you want. So we have that for the cemetery, we have that for the swamp, and we have that for the forest. So, and those toolkits can be extracted and then dropped into my Patreon as just things for people to pick up, like for $2, for instance. You can have like this set of forest this forest construction set if you want it. So, but that's something I'm planning on doing at the end of the year. With God's grace and anyone paying attention, if I can get up to 500 subscribers, I can start putting a marketplace here on my YouTube, so I can have, like, if I'm talking about this forest that we're building right now, I could literally have that packet like down here in the descriptions. Like, if you want to pick it up for $2, you're welcome to on my Patreon, blah blah blah. I can start marketing my own shit to everyone, because that's what you want me to push product at you, right? But the point is that this is, I'm building shit for people to use in their games, so here's an easy way to get it anyway. And that's the forest. So and this illustration here is basically in that forest. Here's an illustration of what your team would look like while you're in that forest, and you have your tokens and stuff to fight inside of it. But rocks crunchy. We're linking to the Funny Dragon game. Yeah. Do that in Discord, please. In the memes and links and stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah, forests are fun. It's just fun. So that's what this hedge is that we're building here. This is that impassable terrain, the obstacles that we had the tiles. So I'm going to make these are going to be more jagged than the tree line, to help distinguish the different types of like floral anatomy. So I'm just chicken scratching this in here just to scratch it in. And then I'll go back in and I'll do it better. So I'm just going to drop the opacity on that and add in a new layer to betterfy it. And then we'll probably sweep across the tree line again and betterfy that, merge it all down, and then we'll do a color fill. It's a very simple wash, and we'll have it be a fade that bleeds out into the text. It won't be a hard cut. It'll just be a fade out like we've been doing with all the other map pieces and stuff. For one of the elemental deities right now, right on. Excellent. Let's drop down here. You know what? I'm sitting here doing this, and I'm thinking I might have I think I'm about to cause myself a bunch of trouble I don't need. So I'm going to recant and restart here. I'm just going to fill this in just to block it, just really rough. I think I want to use a texture brush to do these edge touch-ups. So I'm going to just smooth this all out a bit just to expedite that process here. There, that's okay. That's okay. Smooth that out there. That's okay. Here's a break I need to resolve. So smooth that out. That's okay. Here. Yeah, I can speed this whole process up. As much as I love fiddling and just mincing the little details here along these tree lines or foliage lines, I can do it more efficiently. So that's what we're going to do. I'll take this here. That feels pretty good. Okay, so that's there. And we're going to drop this down, and we're going to pull this out. Let's just drag out the horizon here, all the way over to here. And then I don't need to go that far down. Probably. I bet here's a good spot. It's below the horizon line, so that's a good place to transition when we do our fade. So let's just drag this all the way across the board. And then we'll connect up like that. That should be good. And then are we going to be able to... Yeah, it looks like that is a contained space. So let's prove it. There we go. There, so that becomes our bottom hedge line. We're going to drop that out of the way. Let's go back up here to our tree line. We'll do the same here. Just realized I was futzing around way too much. I can get this done a lot quicker. I don't mind taking the time on this. Something else I want to do while I'm on my break. So I'll go till 9 o'clock and then I'm going to take a break. But I didn't have any opportunity to work on the Eberron layouts yesterday. So I feel like I'm a little bit behind there. But doing layout, like actual layout work on screen, is pretty boring because it's me like pixeling lines up and down a little bit and like reading it over and over again as like, how can I reword this to get rid of that line? Or where can I find another line? And it's a real cerebral effort that doesn't have a lot of opportunity for me to be able to just engage in conversation. Like there's a huge mood shift between this morning art stream and in the evenings or in the afternoon when I'm doing design work. When I'm doing design work, I'm basically talking to myself and letting other people into the headspace and then take breaks from that process to engage people. But here, it's different because I don't have to think when I'm normally I don't have to think when I'm arting. So I have the ability just to let my ideas roam and just talk about stuff, which is why like this is zero space for me. I literally spend no effort. And when I'm in flow state like this, it's like I don't age. So it's basically bonus time to my life. And entering that flow state is, I can get there in writing. I'm capable of doing that now. However, it's not, it doesn't, it engages me differently. Artwork is a physical task I'm performing with my hands. And I've logged in enough hours now that my hands can literally just do work on their own without me having to pay attention to what they're doing. And when I get into that state and I just let it kind of autopilot, I honestly become almost as much of an audience as anyone in chat that checks out, is checking out what we're doing. Because I know where I want to go with it. Like, I felt like I wanted to fix that, but I didn't actually know what the solution was going to look like. Like I said earlier, I don't like plan out my illustrations. I don't see a perfect image of what I want and then just simply reproduce the idea in my head and put it on paper, which some people can actually do. Fucking A, what a skill. My skill has developed kind of along the ways that, unironically, that my vision works, which is everything's kind of a cloudy mess, and as I draw closer into it, it clarifies and I can actually see what it is. So like I'll see a tumble of furry limbs and I don't understand what it is that I'm looking at until it snaps into focus. It's like, oh, that's a very short girl with very big dogs heading this way. I hope no one scares them because she's going to go for a ride if they do. But like I might have to get within like 50 feet for that to snap into view for me to understand what I'm looking at. So until then, it's just some Wookiee-like monster that just stumbles at me. I'm like, I'm just going to trust this isn't dangerous. And then it snaps into focus and it's fine. So my art style is very similar to that, where like I have a vague idea of what it is that I'm imagining, and as I continue working the illustration, I get more detail about, oh, this is what that is, and then that kind of allows me to be loosey-goosey about the specific details and allow me to just naturally discover them. So it's a really fun, intuitive sort of imagination connection. It's like a physical imagination where my hands like, we're gonna, like, I know I want to make an archer, and I know I want them looking off to the left, and I know I want them targeting something, but beyond that, the details are up to you. And then my hand's like, okay, I can do that, and it does. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. So as we go through that process, it just ends up getting, like, quote unquote, getting created, and I get to watch it happen almost as much as any. Like, I can feel where it's gonna go, but like this feeling of like this making that little whippet there I just did, like, I didn't plan that. That's just muscle twitch, and it's like, oh, that looks cool. So it's like, good, my muscles twitched the right way. so the more I turn off my brain and just become passive in the process of creating the art, the more the art just creates itself, and it becomes a real joy for me to be able to experience. It sucks when I get into a space where I don't like that crossed legs, for instance, or that guy kneeling. It's like, this isn't something I can just run autopilot on. I actually have to pay attention to this, and then everything grinds down real slow as I have to like specifically think through and parse out the visual information that we're putting down onto the canvas. There's no flow state there. It's all it's like all rationality and proportion comparison. And like I was talking about on Wednesday, that like my sketch art is more emotional and energetic and it has like feeling to it, but as I correct my anatomy and build out the piece, it loses that emotional energy with each correction. It's because I'm taking away what was created in that flow state of the sketch, and it's being ground down into rational anatomy, and that kills the energy that I build. So one of my major quests right now is to learn how to have to retain that elasticity in their posing that allows me to push expressions while still looking like correct. And that's a style thing, because it's not literally duplicating reality at that point. It's just sorry, quick tangent. As I've said in the past, your style as an artist is built from your imperfections and the things that you try to run away from working on. Like it's almost like people that can't draw feet. They're always positioning their shit so that you can't see somebody's feet. You know, like they're in a room with furniture or like in an environment with like trees and rocks and stuff where they're blocking the camera's perspective from seeing their feet. You can get away with that for a little while, but you have to come to grips that it's like I am avoiding stuff and it's limiting what I can do with my composition because I'm incapable of producing the anatomy that I need. So you have to at some point own that and come to grips with it. And then you start the arduous process of learning, like, where are my references, what am I missing? The pain of becoming a better, having better structure, and that's all rational. That's all rational mind work, and it sucks. But it has to be done. You have to learn the skill. You have to teach yourself that stuff. That's the only way to get it. And I think I've probably been ranting about stuff long enough here. I'm gonna take this and just push this up like that, and then drag across the board here, like there. And then I can drop this down into here. There's text going on the side over there. I can see it. I'm going to cut across here. There. Exactly. Something that has a humanoid face. Mask on. Yeah, exactly. It says, where's your weakness? And so the style that you'll eventually get good at faces, right? Like all the things you need to be able to do, you'll get good at doing. And then, but the process of you avoiding that eventuality and then coming to grips with it and building what needs to be built, that becomes, what am I trying to say? Your coping mechanisms in how you build your illustration, that becomes your style, because it's your process and your technique developed from you being inadequate and being incapable of reproducing. Hold on. Something about futzy. Okay. I think we're at a point. Let's give this a go. Cool. So that seems like it's contained. And now we'll just blump like that. And then we put the two together. There. Super cheap, easy forest line. And then we can go and we can actually clean this up. But yeah, it's a decent little. Give that. Up. Call this forest. Then we can like backdrop it like this, so it becomes a background fade when we add all our characters in. Now the fire is going to pop out. Like the fire is going to so easily pop out here because we have this ridge line back there as just like a dark backwash of nighttime that this gets to pull forward with. So what I do want to do is, well, we're going to want to fix that over there. Yeah, that's good. That's right. So what I want to do now is references, look at where we're at on the composition. I'm absorbing. Hold on. Yeah, so far so good. Yeah, thanks. So I have to think about where are these trees and how are they playing, because I'm pretty happy with the position of the characters. But before I really get into that, I need to now start thinking about where are the trunks and stuff in this forest, and how is that going to complement and improve the composition. So that's good there. Let's add our background back in, our filigree and framing back in, so that we have all the stuff that we need there. I can grab all of this and drag it down a bit because we have this open space down here a little. So brings that down. Not liking how that's lining up specifically. I don't want to do too much detail in the forest until I figure out where everyone's at, but What I can do is something simple for composition's sake is just flip it. It's like the first thing I can do to see how things line up. It's like I can nudge this since I made the forest bigger than the column needs to be. It gives me like literally wiggle room that I can scooch things over like this. Because I'm going to do a fade out along. I'm going to do a fade along the edges anyway, so it's easy enough for me just to snidge it around a little bit here and there to get to where I want it to be at. But I think I like. I want to say I like how that sits, but so I can scoot this over a touch. That feels pretty good. So now I can take the entire thing and I can pull that over here like that. So I'm looking at the edge of the tent here. Like this is like, here, let's put our frame blocking on here real quick to get serial there, and then like this is going to be here. There, like this is realistically where our edges are going to be at. Something like this. I have a little bit of a fade. I can push this up here. That out. Waiting for the next conversation to drop into my head. What about having a sort of upward curve in the brush to frame the fire better? Yeah, you can see that, right? Because the edge of this here is meeting the edge of the top of where the flames are licking right now. It's like this is not a good position for this, right? I have to fix that. So I'm good. I like where this trunk is at behind the character on guard. I think that is good framing there for her. And I think I'm pretty good with S'mores here. How his head is between these two logs. I think that's good. I'm thinking... I think I'm okay with this here. I like how she's sitting inside of the edge, but I feel like I want him... I want... Okay, so guard is alert. So her head is above the hedge line. That's important to me. And since she's on guard, I like her being partially concealed by the trunk, even though she's not actually hiding behind that trunk. There's it's kind of implied that even though she's exposed to the light here, that she isn't as easy as anyone else to see. She's the most hidden. I want him to drop below the intentionally, I would say. I want him dropping below the hedge line, and I want her below the hedge line, because these are the two that are most relaxed, you know, the most that are comfortable and actually settling in. While this guy's in a half crouch, so something has he's not settled in yet, so I want him partially above the hedge line. Her view totally above the hedge line, him partially above the hedge line, her and him inside of the hedge line because they're actually relaxing. So that's where. So right now I'm messing with not only again his ratio, his proportions compared to everyone else. That feels fairly good there. I've been futzing on this guy's coat for freaking ever though, so I think I want to finally trim that off a little bit to reduce his footprint, so I can work on his anatomy a little bit more. Like he's gonna have to end up being something like this. I had him with a sword by his side originally, but when you're with friends and you're a swordsman, you don't put your sword next to you. If you put your sword in front of you while you're sitting, is I expect you to attack me. My weapon is at ready to defend me or to draw when necessary. If the weapon is beside you, if it's on, well, it would be on your left-hand side for one, because you're going to draw with your right. So if your sword is beside you, you are cautious, but don't necessarily expect trouble. If your weapon is behind you, parallel to your body, then you don't want to leave it on your hip, because it's getting propped up like this on the ground while you're sitting, and you're just basically digging your blade into the dirt. It's kind of disrespectful. So you pull the blade off of your belt, and then you lay it down either in front of you, beside you, or behind you. And when it's behind you, you are not a threat, but you're respecting your weapons. So those are the three poses while you're kneeling like this. That's like appropriate for your weaponry: front of, at ready, or behind and disabled. But you can't just leave it on your belt, because if you try to move around, it gets clunky. It gets dragged around in the dirt. You're gonna fuck up your movement if you need to. And if you're gonna pick yourself up, it's just easy to grab your weapon when you pick up if you're expecting trouble, or to drop your hand by your side if you're in trouble, or if you are attacked and you don't expect it. If your weapon is behind you, you can roll back to get away from the threat, and as you somersault over yourself, you can actually pick up the weapon so that it becomes in front of you as a result of rolling backwards. But that's Japanese mentality. I don't know how Europeans dealt with it, but that's the Japanese philosophy behind kneeling in a circle with other people with weapons. So there's the war culture of, in this instance, we're talking samurai. The culture of war, the actions that they take were like the way that they decided like to operate with each other in court, the movements that you make. It was all combat focused. It was, if I have to defend myself, what's the most efficient way for me to do that, while at the same time knowing that the people that I'm facing are similarly proficient and they're going to understand the implications of what movements I'm making. So how can I integrate safe movement into respect of interacting with people so that they aren't threatened? Because the idea, okay, here's the idea. Regardless of what kind of content you consume in your daily life, there are interactions and conversations about what's appropriate or inappropriate activity to each other. Codes of behavior, ethics, respect in either society and family, among friends and stuff like that. These are topics of conversation. And in this war culture of old school medieval Japan, like that was such a huge issue. Like the idea of at any time, like at a bar when you're in an argument with somebody, right, and you're getting drunk and stuff, and you're getting into an altercation with somebody, the threat of violence is high. And when you're dealing with, other men or whatever, typically men we're talking about here, that have the potential proclivity of being violent in response to anything that you say, you kind of need to pay attention to, like, if I'm in a bar environment, do I know if this guy has friends or not? Are they behind me? What don't I know? So you have to treat a conflict with respect, just to keep yourself from getting hurt. And the further back in time we go, being injured means more and more likely that you're going to die, infection, stuff like that. So just a stupid argument can get you killed, which is why so many like animals like deers that are fighting, like that are demonstrating to earn breeding rights to the foals that are in a herd. They're clacking their horns together, but they're specific, like performing very specific feats of strength to demonstrate their power, to demonstrate their capability of combat without actually wounding each other and weakening the herd. Humans are the same way, except that there's things can go too far, and if things start becoming a personal threat that might not be able to be contained, that's when like lasting violence can occur. So you have to pay attention. Am I going to trigger this person to the place where they want to cause lasting violence? And is this situation guiding us there? So like all the activity, like how to handle swords, how to move, how to posture yourself when you're in conversation, sitting, kneeling, standing. These are all things that are, I'm protecting myself, I'm capable of performing violence. You can acknowledge that I'm attempting to perform violence as well, so you recognize these stances I'm taking as either escalating or de-escalating violence. How guarded do I need to be against you while we're having a conversation? And the way that two people hold themselves, the postures that they hold, the angles that they have, their attitude that they use, is indicating how likely is violence to occur as a result of this encounter. So that's a lot of conversation about just basically like how to put your sword on the ground. So there you go. So take that for whatever it's worth. I'm ranting. But this is the kind of stuff that I think about. This is the type of stuff that in the martial arts training that I've had, this like they spend a lot of time like while we're drinking beers and shit. after physical training, we go cool down and get drunk. And these are the kind of conversations we have about like these different things. So a lot of fun history. It was a lot of fun training that type of stuff. But it's helped me translate a lot into artwork. Like I can be more intentional because I understand. I have at least a Japanese combat perspective about like why do you do things in different ways? Why do you what's needed here? What's missing? How has this become more realistic? How is this more grounded? And if you're putting elements into a piece, but you don't know why they're there, they probably shouldn't be there. Work with elements that you know. And so the more familiar I am with this combat tradition, the more I can think about those, like what would this guy be thinking about while he's doing this? What would this guy, the guard be thinking? Like what are the different things that are subtly being portrayed here that I don't necessarily need to pull any attention to? But I know that exists inside the piece. They change the attitude of the piece overall. That's the goal for me anyway. And Bob's your uncle. Right on. But once the thrill of using a weapon goes away and it becomes just work, like getting good at cutting or getting good at foot movements or getting good at moving your hip and your shoulder at the same time, like it just becomes a rote memory exercise of just training your body to perform, the excitement dies like really hard. And it becomes just work of just movement, just move like a Neon Genesis Evangelion. That anime, I love referencing that because like being a kid in a giant robot is like, it sounds awesome, right? But like Shinji and like all of them are like, yeah, this gotta go fucking train mecha. Why? Because all you're going to do today is see a target, move the gun, put the target into the center of the target and pull the trigger. New target, center, click. New target, center, click. New target, center, click. Target, center, click. Shut up, center, click. And they have to keep their mind as empty as possible while they're doing this so that the intention of their movement can flow through the mecha. And it's like, God, this is just mind-numbing task. And like literally designed to numb their minds. And it's like these 13-year-old balls of energy are just like forced to sit here, move to the center of the target, pull the trigger. Move to the center of the target, pull the trigger. Hours, dozens, hundreds of hours of just that. Not even moving the mecha. Just targeting, so that targeting becomes reflexive, so that when they have a target, they'll fucking hit it. Target, I'll fucking hit it. When do I get to pick up a goddamn axe? It's like, we're not there yet. It's such a great anime. It's like, yeah, piloting this mecha is not only just emotionally horrible, but it's just mind-numbingly dull at the same time. It's like such a great if you haven't seen that anime, Evangelion, Neon Genesis Evangelion is such an awesome child mecha deconstruction anime. It's so fucking good. Yeah, it's finding that Zen space is incredibly difficult. The more the art, physical art, like sculpting, painting, stuff like that, it really is just a massive blessing, because the further into autonomic control, and autonomic is the ability for the hand to do the work, reflexively just do the work for you. Eye hand coordination. I need to make this guy, so I don't have to specifically think about the ruffles in this guy's in the crotch of his pants while he's kneeling here. I don't have to think about it specifically. I can just trust that like we were talking earlier, I can trust that my hand is going to know what to do, because I put in my 15,000 hours. So I can trust my body just to move until it has a question like, hey boss, I don't know how to do this yet, can you pay attention? And that's when I, as a supervisor of my own body, I tap in and start providing guidance, and then finding references and blah blah blah. But most of this stuff I can just autopilot. And so if I wasn't here having a conversation with you, I would be listening to Led Zeppelin or Sepultura or Black Sabbath, who knows. But maybe some Deadmau5 or Tool. Bass Nectar's a big fan of Bass Nectar. Deadmau5, I've been enjoying Deadmau5 a lot again lately. But yeah, I'll just listen to music and my brain turns off. The blessing of autonomic control is that you're literally allowing your brain to shut off. And whether it just wants to listen to music and zone out, or just like talk off the cuff like this, whatever, it's taking away active thought. It's just allowing it to flow. Like most of the conversation that I have, I don't honestly know what I'm going to be talking about either. And so me rambling about stuff while I paint borrows into that same flow state. So I like to jump up. I enjoy streaming so much because it's an opportunity for me to not only turn off my brain for the art flow, but also just to let my heart talk about what my heart wants to talk about, without any real intention about what we were going to do today, right? I knew I was going to come on, I was going to work on this piece some more, and from last time I knew that I wanted to work on the forest edge and clean up character stuff, but from there, I had, and then it's like open slate. You know, I don't script anything, I don't have any real, it's rare that I'll do like an actual video about a subject. So, those things typically happen like when I publish a book. To hype it, you know, to point at stuff. What I love the most about the books that I create is that the books I create are create solutions to problems that are inside of the game engine. Like the color mana system is like a really in-depth mana spell point system that also addresses the narrative of color magic. So I can use my own works as references in conversations I have with other people in the hobby that enjoy the idea of a color mana system, or like Strixhaven, or like Theros, or like Ravnica, blah. It's like, yeah, here's tools that I built, and here's like the narrative components. So like, if we're looking at it from that perspective, and then I can spout out DM ideas or character ideas and stuff like that. Like, here's all the reference stuff, and by the way, it's all free to look at. So I'm not shilling stuff at you. Buy it if you want. But now that you have the reference in mind, you can see how these things work. And from my end, it's like, you know, if this ends up jiving with what they wanted to do, and they start leaning on the resource document, if they can afford to buy it, they're ultimately going to end up buying it. Like, I've bought Maze Rats twice. Maze Rats is like Ben Milton. It's a super light RPG system, but it has a great magic system of randomizing your spells, and it uses the D6 grid, so like 6 wide and 6 tall. So you roll 2 6-sided dice, and it's like a 3 and a 4, and I get Fireball or whatever. You know, it's a great magic system. I love it. And sometimes it's in the past I didn't know where I had it in storage on my computer, and I just couldn't fucking find it. So I was like, I'm just gonna spend another $3 just to buy it again off the website because it's such an easy, cheap little thing for me to pick up, but I use it so much in my campaigns. So it's like, it's just worth it for me just to throw in money whenever I need to look at the thing if it's more convenient than for me trying to find where it's at, because it's like $3. So it's like, how long am I going to spend looking for different drives? This is back before I organized my shit on my computer. But like, the point there is that like I don't share stuff for people to buy it. That's why it's all free previews. I share it because I can have a conversation about ideas on how to make your campaign work, which is why I built the book in the first place, right? Like the Spelljammer mechanics. I wanted to have a scaling movement system that'll work and a scaling damage system that can take you from 5-foot characters to mega kaiju miles in size and have a smooth targeting and damaging system that characters can evolve through in different tiers of gameplay. And so I had to build all of that, and it was amazing that I actually could. And now that it's built, I can use that in reference to conversations. Not so much that buy my shit, you know, do that if you like it. But since you were asking about, like, how do I do a 500-foot squid, here, check out page 35, 72, and 14 for the ship. And this will show you how to do it. And here's an example I have. Here's a video for you to see how to actually build that, use it, and then create challenges around it. Now go play. But if I didn't build the tools, I wouldn't be able to explain how it works. And if I didn't make it free preview, you wouldn't be able to reference it. And if I didn't make the video explaining it, you might not bother. But now that I've provided you all the tools and the means to do it, instructions and a practical example, this becomes a tool you can integrate into your campaign whenever you want to pull it out. It's yours to use as you need. And people are like, yeah, I want more of that shit. That's why you buy my books. It's like, yeah, because I want you to make another one. The books you buy tells me the ones that are more interesting for people. So I'm really digging this armor. It's got a really cool little, like, leather, or maybe it's not brigadine. It's not half plate. I'm feeling more of a leather vibe here. This is all. So one of the tricks is going to be the fire is here. So how do I make this look good with it being backlit? So I'm going to have to figure that out. But yeah, this is about as detailed as this character needs to be. Like, that's pretty fucking good. I'm happy with that. So let's toss this remnant into the trash. Flush. So that feels good. So let's go back to, and then let's go back to the tents. The tents are just about where they're supposed to be. Let's go back to the guard. The guard is the next one I'm probably gonna have to work on. But now that I have the line art for S'mores cleaned up, we can see how guard actually is gonna sit in comparison. I want to pull her back a bit. So I want his crouching leg to kind of mess around with where her legs are at, so I can de-emphasize them. I really want to drop the lighting on her, like just fade them out into like a ground level dark fade. So I'm going to need to work on her next. I need to work on him, but I think I want to work on her. Let's bring these guys back in just to make sure. Tap that there. I'm going to take a sip. Hey Karen, how you doing? Happy post-Thanksgiving. Yeah, there's I've been around long enough to know that there's waves. Like I don't know the specific timing of it, but I'll have streams where I'll go a week or so and not have anyone engaged, and then I'll have like maybe 1 or 2 people, and then I'll have like 4 or 5, and then it'll drop down to 0 again. Open stream like this isn't a very popular format. It's kind of, unless you're into the creative process or like really jive with the content that's being worked on, it's difficult to retain. Let's get rid of that, and then here we can take this and I want to just duplicate this one. But I stream primarily for 2 reasons. One is to make sure I just show up and get something done every day. Just being able to just do something every day means that you'll eventually finish it. And there's no real deadlines here, so I can be casual about the project. But show up and get shit done, and just let people know what I'm doing. It's gonna. I will find my tribe. We are all out here, obviously. But you have to put in the time, the effort, and not expect results to get results. It's just the love of the process. And like I said, it's this, art is a very, very, very lonely solo task. This is as paranormal as the relationship is, or parasocial the relationship is. This is so, like, it used to be that, like, when I was back before the interwebs, when I was in my teens learning how to draw, it was just me all by myself. Occasionally I'd have a friend over and we'd draw, or like study hall in class or something. But art is a very solo task. It's incredibly lonely. And honestly, streaming while doing art, this feels to me like study hall. Except that no one's telling me to shut up. Or threatening with detention for not having shut up the last 5 times I was told to. I get to ramble. So it removes, like, isolation is one of the biggest threats to physical artists. I used to participate in drink and draws at the pubs down in Seattle. And that was fun, except it became less and less about art and more about just hanging out and then like hooking up and blah blah blah. So it lost its focus, and like, well, this wasn't what I signed up for, so I stopped, and then I moved. So it wasn't convenient for me to do it all anymore. But when it was actually doing what it was supposed to be doing, of doing art, it was fun. It's always fun to be able to have peers or a group to hang and chill with while you're kicking pixels around. And streaming allows me to do that. So it's not the real thing, quote unquote, but it allows me to be able to sustain myself in the momentum. Yeah, right on. Well, hey, what's up, Drift? Drift, I don't think I've seen you here before. Welcome to the mix. If you have been here before, my apologies. I have a hard time tracking names. But yeah, this little forest map is coming along, or a little campsite illustration is coming along. I'm pretty happy. So we'll do this for, what is it? Oh god, is it 8:30 already? Fuck that. I don't think I'm going to be content and done in a half hour. I'll probably want to push on. I do need to clean my kitchen, and I do need to take a break, but I'm going to be back later on today. We're going to do Spelljammer stuff later on today as well. The idea is I've got a few Spelljammer subclasses that I want to build out. So I know we're going to come back and work on that later on today, but I don't think I'm going to. I allotted myself till 9 o'clock this morning, but I feel like I'm getting good stuff done, so I don't want to cut off. But yeah, I'm going to. So I'll whenever it is I do, whenever I decide, whenever the muse says you're done, son, I'll log off for a little while, get some work done, and then come back. This is not forward oriented enough. It needs to curl in more like this. Arm is off. fix it. And that arm is too long. So there's a ratio, there's a proportion ratio that's going wrong here. You can sense it. We'll walk through that. And that's just D&D under live. Oh, ha! Oh, God bless you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm here allow me to rant about myself for just a moment. I stream 10 times per week, Monday through Friday in the morning like this. I do artwork, map design, cartography, whatever. Right now it's for an Eberron adventure that we'll be publishing on the DMsGuild. And then on Thursday nights, as well as lunch times on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays, I do D&D game design. So since you're a casual, here on the display here, drift down, like Point Warlocks just went gold. The color mana Point variant rules system is like 7 sales away from gold. I'm not asking you to buy it. All of these books are free preview. Like if we're going to be doing Spelljammer later, so let's focus on Spelljammer. Spelljammer Combat and Exploration. You can click on that. Here's the book, and then you can click on the free preview. It's a 107-page document. You have all 107 pages to read. Now, this is a deep dive into combat and exploration mechanics in Spelljammer, but more so, it's a scaling combat system that uses the 5e combat game engine, using your action economy of attack, of like actions, bonus actions, reactions, object interactions, movements, and verbal commands to operate and move ships, either individually as fighter craft or as a part of a crew in a vessel. But like if you click on the combat button here, like you can see scale, like 500-foot scale squares, 50-foot scale squares, and 5-foot scale squares. So you can have combat operating at different scales at the same time. You can participate in a fleet battle. The way that we portrayed it here is a 500-foot scale squares. This is a 10 by 10 square. It's a 500-foot square times 10. That's a 1 mile square. That in Light of Zaraxis, the citadel of the Imperial Citadel, is a 1 mile asteroid that they've carved into the shape of a butterfly. There you go. Defending that butterfly is a fleet of star moths against what we're portraying here is a fleet of hammerheads at the 500-foot scale. So if we zoom in to these adjacent squares, you can see each of those squads is actually, we have in this squad here 2 hammerhead ships, 50-foot squares times 10 is a 500-foot square. Here you see 3 star moths and 4 warhawks in formation inside of this square. Star moths, and then 1, 2, 3, and then we can see here a 4th one is moving and lands on the deck of this ship here, right? So let's scale out and then look at what does that look like at the 5-foot scale. Here's the Warhawk landing on the deck of your ship and dumping soldiers out on the deck. So at the 5-foot scale, we're using character combat like in the player's handbook or OGL, wherever. But then we can use those same mechanics with ships at the 50-foot scale interacting with each other. You can use the same 5e mechanics interacting with each other at the 500-foot scale. At this scale, at the 5-foot scale, you're taking individual actions for your character. At this scale and at this scale, you're operating your ship as a group, and you're operating multiple ships as a crew. And we have all the mechanics that you need to do that and explain how to walk through parsing your action economy here in the ship roles. By being a pilot, being a siege commander operating siege weapons, being a squadron commander, issuing commands to multiple ships at a larger scale at the same time, or being a support character, helping characters pilot, command siege crews, or command squadrons of ships. And then we go through all of that. So there's in-depth combat movement mechanics, how to translate 5-foot scale to the 500-foot scale, so you can have 500-foot scale movement like you're used to in D&D. How to transition character perspective from 5-foot to 50-foot to 500-foot to 1 mile and larger scales, and how to make all of that action economy flow together inside of the same round of combat by scaling it. And then once you get through all that, we have the chapter on how to have spell casting at higher scales, amplifying through your spells. So through your ship, so you can affect like invisibility on your ship and like throw a fireball 2 miles away, blah blah blah. How all that interaction works, and then we get down into the exploration chapter, which is how to engage reality at a larger scale when this is a 115-foot scale ship or 150-foot ship here that's about to get eaten by this whatever that is. But here's your different scales of visibility to be able to notice objects at distant scale. The smaller the object, the closer it has to be, the more difficult it is to see. Like it's super easy to see a star in the sky. It's almost impossible to miss, right? So the DCs of spotting that and seeing it super far away is super easy. But like spotting a dog, like a dog that fits inside of a 5-foot scale, or just a human drifting through space, it's going to be incredibly difficult to see them, even if you're using like a radar or detecting radar, the orrery. Like you can potentially detect that there's a person free floating out there 1,000 miles away, and if they're a mile away, then you can see that like a DC 28 is like just casually notice a person floating around in space a mile away, and then once they're within 50 feet of you, the DC of 16 is like to be able, like, do they have a nameplate? Like, are they from a particular nation? What race are they? Like, those are the things that you can pick out at this scale. So 1,000 miles and then 1,000 miles and then scale down into 1 mile, scale down into 50 feet, 1,000 miles, 100 miles, 10 miles, 1 mile. That's 3 scales of difference. 500, 1 mile is 5,000 down to 500, down to 50, down to 5-foot scale. That's 3 degrees. So this is shifting in 3 degrees of magnitude between these different scales to determine what these DCs are. And you can see the scale of the degree of difference, 22, 25, 28. This skips on beyond the range. You can't see inside. You can't notice with your bare eyes something that you would need a scry device to be able to pick up on. So you have those breaks in scale and difference. 16, 19, 22. You can't notice. You can notice something floating a mile away, but you will never be able to detect any kind of detail about them because the scale breaks beyond what it can scale. So, and we walk through all the explanation of how these all work specifically, provide some examples. And then when you take all that stuff and then you go down to the Light of Xeraxis, this is using all the mechanics in this book to run Light of Xeraxis. So we provide you a ton of tools to learn how to use the system. And then at the end of explaining what all the rules are, here's a practical guide to actually implement them in an adventure. And by the time you get done with Light of Xeraxis, you'll know how to use fleet combat, you'll know how to use shared action economy, you'll know how to use detection and being able to spot things in like a hex crawl sort of environment in space, building wild space systems, how to track and build build your own orbital map, tracking different moon movements. We have all the rules about that stuff, fleet combat stuff. The Light of Xeraxis, the Citadel attack. Here's how to organize it for your characters to actually attack the Citadel, like we showed up earlier. So when I build books, I build mechanics that change how you can use the game and then provide examples of how to utilize that in your game to expand the scope of your campaigns. It's like that's my goal in these projects, whether it's spell point variant rules for the color mana system or the Spelljammer stuff. Even this adventure that we're building, I'm building it the format we're going with. Well, we're using the 16:9 format, so you can just fit it on a display. So I'm trying to make these tools actually implement the way that the game is mostly played now, which is digitally. So even if you're at a tabletop, you can still have a tablet and 16:9 ratio. You can easily, and the 16:9 is horizontal, but vertically each of these columns is also 16:9. This is 10 by 5.5 inches wide, 10 inches tall. That's also roughly the 16:9 ratio. So whether you want to look at the whole page at once, and it's a 12-point font. So on a tablet about this big, most people with decent vision can just read that full page. But if you need to, you can just zoom into, like, put it horizontal, put it vertically, and just read one column at a time if you want. So the demonstration here is like how to build an adventure to be able to, like, we have a whole, we have essays about how to build stuff that I want to put into a separate book, but use this as an example of like all those different talking points about like how to structure social versus versus exploration versus combat encounters, and how to be able to switch gears between those different pillars of adventure, how to funnel people into different locations through choices that all lead to other choices that all eventually curve down to one path or another that you can plan for. Both campaign as well as adventure and encounter strategizing. Those are the 3 levels of campaign. Like if we're talking about scale, when you're scaling an adventure or a session of role-playing, you're looking at the campaign level, the immediate adventure level, and then the encounter inside of that adventure. These are the 3 scales that we work with there as well. So I'm trying, whenever I build things, I want to try to create tools that help DMs or players expand on how they utilize the game. Anyway, I'm rambling a lot because you're new. Oh my God, yeah. There's like over 100 assets. It has all the ship tokens at the 50 and 500 foot scale. If you're using a virtual tabletop, if you grab the tokens at the 50 foot scale, you can actually expand them out to fit a 5 foot scale. If you're using a virtual tabletop, I don't have the 5 foot scale available for printing unless you wanted. That would be really difficult for you to take the little tokens and blow them out. But the 50 foot scale tokens, you can easily expand those to be as long as you're fine with just the top deck for each ship. You can totally use those as a virtual tabletop, like Roll20 or whatever. Oh shit! Hold on real quick. I will show you. Here's one of the sample one of the play tests that we did for in the Lies of Xeraxis. There's a region called there's a sorceress called Topola, and she has a tower. And the way that's presented in Lies of Xeraxis is that it's just a here. I'll show you. Spell point. This is a big tangent, but hey, it's my day. I do whatever I want. So full size preview here. And then let's go down to the Lies of Xeraxis section here of the book. And let's just roll down. I could just use the table of content and guide me to the specific section, which would be Terrors of the Void. There we go. First off, here's the asteroid maze, the 500-foot dungeon that we built for your characters when they if you know the Lies of Xeraxis, there's at one point there's like a derelict nautiloid that the team can go investigate and go into as a dungeon and fight some stuff and find some things. But when you come out, there's Neogi pirates in a ship that's threatening to raid you, but then they get scared off by a patrol. With the fleet mechanics and the scaling ship combat we can build dungeons, quote-unquote asteroid dungeons. And at the 500-foot scale, your ships are navigating the space as though it's characters moving through a dungeon. And when you encounter ships, we have there's a squadron of Neogi Spiderling fighter craft. They're 40-foot ships. They fit inside of a 50-foot square. And then here's their stats using the rules that we have, and here's their deck plan. So you can see like harpoon flingers and ballista, and then they have piercing ram legs that can attack and latch onto your ship. And so your ship would be here at point 1 next to the derelict ship here, and then this for example, this is the 50-foot scale. Like this is a 5-foot scale here. This resolution of map, you can see that's pretty easy to see. And when we scroll down, you'll eventually run across the Night Spider ship, and this is at the 50-foot scale. But you can see, like, if I zoom, this is as close as it lets me zoom in. But the size of like this harpoon flinger is supposed to occupy a 5-foot space, and this ballista occupies a 10-foot space, and this mangonel fits a 10-foot by 10-foot space. If you use this on a virtual map, VTT, and you expand it out like we have. Where'd it go? Hold on, I got lost. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's a map. This is the 50-foot scale, right? 50-foot scale. Here's this asset here. It's just a simple skiff that has 2 harpoon flingers on it, so you can chase around a scaver. But this is a 50-foot scale square that we're looking at here during the course of the battle. You're basically chasing a scaver around inside of this pit here, and the DM has. If we go back real quick here. Oh, we didn't get to it yet. Hold on. I was trying to prove a point. Here, click on this, zoom in, and then here, zoom out a bit. 10, 15, 20, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. There. See, I just zoomed this by 10, and you can, and it looks fucking great. so you can take any of the 50-foot scale assets that I provided for you, and then blow them up on a virtual tabletop by 10. and now it fits at the 5-foot scale. So you could drop a character asset on here, and it would occupy the same space next to this at the 5-foot. So yeah, the assets are all there. Also templates for you to build system maps, asteroid debris, everything that you need for Light as Araxis, all the characters, all the creatures, all the ships, all the locations, all the system maps. Yeah, there's like over 100 some odd assets that are included with it. So, and then it has like all this stuff, but like if it doesn't work, I wouldn't expect you to buy it. But like if you need it, it's like, oh yeah, then you get all the assets with it. So anyway, I'm done geeking out. So this was my commercial. But the point is that I build things, I build systems so that people can expand the style of play that they have. I don't want to just create another character option. I want to create a system that your character option means more than it did before. So, like the color mana system. Having a color mana system to guide how you build your character creates not only new mechanical options, but totally leans into like the identity of your character and how you want to express it. So, anyway, thank you for joining my TED Talk. I'll get back to work. Get back to work, monkey. I'll get back to work. Get back to work, monkey. But yeah, that's so now now that we have the Spelljammer book, I now have mechanics in place. Oh my god, I never showed you what I was actually. Fuck it. Anyway, you saw the maps, you saw this stuff. Like we create new encounters, you can create new types of encounters in that adventure because now we have language to talk about scale. I can have a dungeon of asteroids that are free floating, and currently they look like this, but you can take those and just move those tools around and add asteroids and create new dungeon spaces so that you can create your own asteroid dungeons or whatever it is that you want to do. And we talk about that inside the book. So anyway. So yeah, if it jives, thank you. But yeah, so we're rebuilding all the color mana books. But yeah, so now that we have this scaling mechanical system, I can build the Mecha Kaiju book because I like Mecha and Kaiju. But there aren't really any good, in my opinion, my humble opinion, there aren't any products that have come out that really just nail that flavor for 5th edition. But I have some pretty unique combat mechanics and ways of larger scale things to interact with an environment exactly the same way that your characters would. So that means that, well, if I put your character in a war golem that's 50 feet in size, then as long as you stay inside your mecha, we can have a campaign operating at the 50-foot scale all the time. Like anyone that's familiar with Robotech, Zentradi are 50-foot tall humanoids, right? And they're inside of these 50-foot scale mecha fighting stuff. And at one point, the characters steal a uniform from a dead Zentradi soldier and dress up their mecha like a soldier, and they're marching around inside the ship spying on things, and they get found out and their mecha gets destroyed, so they have to drop out of the mecha on foot. So now they're little 5-foot characters that are operating inside of a 50-foot scale environment like giants. We can take Big B's Glory of the Giants book and all the encounters that are in the back end of that book of examples of encounters with giants, and like they're talking about like cloud giants and fire giants at like they're like 10 feet or 20 feet in size. But we can like get outrageous. Like if you're going to be running around like a dwarf inside of a mecha fighting fire giants, we can make those fire giants 50 or 100 feet in size. So like they are like an Attack on Titan sort of threat to your society. There's 150 of these things out there just ready to eat us. Fuck. Let's build mecha and go fight them ourselves. So let's make a 50-foot axe that's going to cleave through that 100-foot fire giant. Or maybe if we have the resources to actually build out 100-foot mecha, so we can then drop the scale. Everyone's at that 50-foot scale in a 2x2 space, engaging giants at the same scale that they're at inside your machine. If they destroy your machine, you can drop out of the machine and then run into a crack in the wall or hide somewhere and try to get out of there, Mouse Ritter style, escape the fire giant's lair without your mecha at 1/10 the size of that giant. So now giants become literally a colossal threat because you can always have giants at the 50, 500. If you want to do Spelljammer stuff, you can have a mile-sized giant like Ravnica's world worms that are 20 miles long that come up to the surface and just destroy entire acres and blocks of city, and then sink back down below the surface of the earth, like Muad'Dib style, like Dune, but in an urban environment. It's tragic. Like, that's something that Ravnica deals with like all the time. They're too big to kill. All you have to do, they're forces of nature. All you can do is suffer through them and then rebuild after they go away, and hope they don't awaken anytime soon. Like, that's the scale that you're working with is fucking horrible. Oh, and if you really want to watch me geek out about this stuff, you can go to my channel here and then go to my actual videos that I've created. And the last big produced video was my Kraken Week Spelljammer Mega Kaiju book, where I teach you how to use the mechanics in my book to build a 1,500 foot space Kraken attacking the Rock of Brawl, and then assembling the fleet of Rock of Brawl using the statistics that they have from the second edition to demonstrate like how many ships they have, to build a fleet out of that your characters can control, and then to find the weakness on the Mega Kaiju, so once you can punch through its defenses with your fleet, your ship can drop onto its back and attack its eye or whatever. And then we have rules in here to explain it, and we point out, like, in the document, like, here's where all these things fit together, but then I want to extract all those things and put them in a separate Kaiju book with the mecha, so you can have mecha versus Kaiju Pacific Rim style campaigns for your game, which we can build off of the Spelljammer stuff. So that's where I'm looking to go, and we'll get there probably mid to late 2025. All my shit has a long production time, but if you're interested in this stuff, drop into my Discord channel, because that's where I have my playtesting. And when I make a book, I playtest everything. Like when we were building the Spelljammer book, not only did we playtest Light of Xeraxis, but we also used Spelljammer in Descent into Avernus. So we made Descent into Avernus a Spelljammer campaign where everyone was flying around in little fighter craft, fighting giant-sized wasps and hordes of demons, and like there's a frost giant at one point. There's like a god of frost giants that it's trapped in their spoiler alerts. But one of the tangential little things that you can do is find a fire giant god's prison and break him out of it. So we had that at the 50-foot scale. So the team was taking these like, because Descent into Avernus has like this Mad Max theme to it, like they call it Infernal War Machines. That was the start of our Spelljammer mechanics. It was, I want to build a Mad Max convoy campaign, and I think I can build better vehicle mechanics to do it. And that sounds like fun. And during the process of doing that and playtesting those mechanics, they announced, hey, Spelljammer's on the way. I'm like, oh shit. Well, we were playtesting like in June 2022. No, 2020. It was 2023. June 2023, we were playtesting the Mad Max fleet convoy mechanics for Descent into Avernus. And that's when they're like, yeah, Spelljammer's going to come out in a couple months. So we got done playtesting that campaign, and by the time the rules for Spelljammer dropped, we were able to, within a few days, convert the fleet mechanics, the Mad Max vehicle mechanics that we had built into Spelljammer. And then it's like, well, if Spelljammer's a thing, hold on, let's pause this Descent into Avernus Mad Max idea, and let's really lean into Spelljammer. So then that's what created all the Spelljammer content. And it's like, well, we were already working with scale at the 50-foot scale. What's to stop us from going to the 500-foot scale and do the exact same thing with spaceships? And it only took one test to realize there's nothing stopping us from doing that. So that's what the focus became. Oh my fuck, it was so cool. So let me conclude that rant real quick by saying Descent into Avernus with Spelljammer is super fucking cool. Super. Hold on, I still have the playtest shit for that. Hold on real quick. I'll go on another rant real quick. Just another tangent. Where is it? Eberron testing, view all games. I've been using Roll20 since 2013. I've got 7,000 hours logged on this virtual tabletop running games. It's just ridiculous. Got let's see. This is my lunchtime adventure orbital campaign. Martial Powers playtesting. More Martial. This is the Eberron playtest for the adventure that we're looking at right now. This was my Endless Days, my Groundhog Day time loop campaign that we ran in Eberron from level 1 to 20. Descent into Avernus vehicle playtest. There we go. This should have the juice. Let's see if this is the one. Restore the game. It's been out for so long. It was in hibernation. But is this the one? Oh yeah, this is our general map. So here's fuck, what was the city? Elturel. No, is it Elturel that got sunken? I think it was Elturel. But here's the city map for Elturel. Here's the chains in the abyss that were locking Elturel over the River Styx. This is a 50-foot scale. These were the demon horde, being represented by, like, this was a flock of imps. There's like 100 imps in this flock. These are flying kobolds. There was 50 flying kobolds in that flock. These are the different war machines. Sorry, like this here's like a war catapult, and then the team they were building over here. Oh yeah, this is off the edge of the map. But here at the 50-foot scale, looking down here, where are the players? Where did the players go? Oh, we pulled them off this map. Wrong one. This is the Scorpion ship that they were piloting in. It's not currently to scale. Okay. Oh, sorry. Hold on. This obviously wasn't scripted because I'm doing a horrible job. What the fuck is going on? Thank you. Let's bring this back in real quick. Let's see if I can. Oh, that's right. I'm using the wrong button. That's why I'm having so much trouble. There we go. Now I got it right. Okay, so here, this is the 500-foot scale. And Elturel, the city of Elturel is 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, 3,500, 4,000. A little less than a mile in size from when we mapped it out. So you can see here at the 500-foot scale again, this is the same perspective as Elturel here. Just this is top view across the River Styx. And here is the rock, and the city is along the top of here. Here's the chains on the edges of the River Styx that are holding it in place. Here's where the siege machines and the army of demons are climbing the chains. So these become the 500-foot scale point of contact. Here is the citadel that the team had in Elturel to strategize their defenses. And then obviously you can see here we scaled into the 50-foot scale. This conflict here is located right here. This is the point of conflict here. So you see Torm's Reach again here? Yeah, so this is the 500-foot scale, and then here's the 50-foot scale where the team focused their combat at. And they were able to push forces back here along this rift here, all the way back to the chain. So we were engaging at the 50-foot scale as fleets of a little fighter craft against the horde, the army horde, the demon horde army. Sorry, that's what we're trying to say. And then at some point there was a threat to, like, we had a random encounter threat, which basically became they had a giant worm that was digging holes through Elturel to try to make it drop into the water, so that the demons would then be able to have an easier approach to the citadel. So they had this 100-foot worm that's been chewing through rock, and once the team realized that there was a worm inside of it, a 100-foot worm at the 50 by 50-foot scale is a 2x2 space. This is the infernal war machines that they were flying to attack the worm. But so they had it was a side-scrolling flying vertical map. So the team all got onto the same squad of fighter craft, and at the 50-foot, because like a Tormentor is like a 15-foot by 15-foot ship. A Hell's Ride motorcycle occupies a 10 by 10 space. So you can have multiple mecha inside the same square. So for simplicity, they would just have them all fly in a squad. And you can see down here that these were the very early versions of this mecha, and we have characters that You can see that, well, here's one of the characters that was piloting here, and we've moved them around since then. But they basically, as a side-scrolling, vertical, because they could fly, you could have like Life Force or Defender style, old arcane game, actually navigating inside of this space. And so they'd this is all concealed. You couldn't see anything. So like as they continue moving, it's like you can either go this way or you can go this way. Well, if you go this way, you're going to run across this abomination that's coming up to help protect the worm. So if they went this way, they would run across ballista crews. So they would be attacked by siege weapons that are in place, and a flock of bats and some flying kobolds that were here to defend this tunnel as this worm is breaking its way to the surface of Elturel to start attacking the city top. So the team had to come in and attack it, and then at one point they got attacked. This thing came through. It came up this way and started to attack the team, and they were able to fight this thing off as like an add-on. So they dropped it and it ran away, and that left the giant worm exposed. So they attacked it, and like it attacked and it swallowed one of their ships whole. So that fighter craft had to fight its way, tear a hole out of its face to get back out again. It was taking acid damage every round. So the pilots, they're like 13th level, but they're being eaten by acid, so it was a big fucking threat. Anyway, sorry. This has probably been like a real fever pitch dream, like fever pitch conversation about all this shit. But it's not organized. But if I really want to, I could rebuild the entire Descent into Avernus campaign box set, like build it out for Spelljammer instead. I don't know if it's worth it. Elturel, Azariel's Flying Blade, is now a Spelljammer ship. This is the 50-foot scale, so it's a 450-foot blade. That's the actual size of it in the actual adventure. So we just built it into a Spelljammer ship. And so this is the size of your ship in comparison to theirs. So they're like, well, we should like attack the top deck of this ship. So I don't have it portrayed here, but on another map we had a close-up, like a 5-foot scale map of the actual, like here's like ballistas on top of the tower of this, and this is just a giant melee weapon that deals hundreds of damage when it hits, so it can just cleave through blocks of. We have stats for like how many hit points 50 feet of rock have, for instance. So this giant blade could eventually cut through and actually cut the city in half if it's not stopped. So the team gets into their giant scorpion, and they go attack it, and that was a 13th level encounter. Super fun. It lasted like, I think we probably spent like 5 hours basically fighting off a horde of demons here, and then fighting off the giant worm inside of the structure, and then fighting off all three of those happened in the same session. So it was like the big siege session. So, but that was a lot of fucking fun. Anyway, so these are the things we can do with these tools. That's the Spelljammer book. There you go. So, sorry. Right on. No, but they're all sized to fit, and they're all broken out. They're all broken out into separate folders. Roll20 requires a different format that I don't understand how to build, but I could potentially put the assets on Roll20 at some point, but I just haven't gotten them there. I haven't gotten there yet. But book, the in command system. This is just the vehicles portion of the mass combat system that I developed. We developed mass combat first, and then vehicle combat and Descent into Avernus, and then Spelljammer. So Spelljammer is the first thing to complete, but it's just a small piece of how to run armies and kingdoms and guilds in your campaign. It's like a Dominion style of play. But I'm in this folder here. Let's go to Spelljammer, and here's the final. So when you download it, you get the PDF, which we've already looked at, right? So this is the stuff that you get in the bundle. So here's the actual PDF without the watermark on it. So this is the actual final product. And then you have a folder of the maps, tokens, and pieces. So if we open that up, it's divided into creatures, all of the Light of Zaraxis assets, the mapping tool assets, and then your ships. So we have fighter craft, which are up to 50 foot in scale, and then you have vessels, which are up to 500 foot in scale, and then we have separate assets for each weapon, ballistas. Here's the PDF files that I have, but and then I extracted all this stuff and put it into a zip file. So this is the zip file that you would have access to. But these are the individual things that I built out to create these folders that you have access to. So we go into the ships, and then we look at the weapon assets. So here's your mangonel, here's your trebuchet, eldritch cannon, ballista, harpoon flinger, and the actual helm. And then if we get out, those are just the things that you put on your ship. So if you want to build your own, you have the assets to do it with. And then let's look at the fighter craft. Here's the different fighter craft that we have. This is at the 50-foot scale, a 3x3, 4x4, and these are all actually look at this. This is a 300 by 300 pixel PNG file. It's a 3x3. If you open a Roll20 adventure and you have tokens at the 100 pixel resolution, 100 DPI, the resolution on Roll20 is 72. So what it'll do is it takes this piece here and it automatically snaps it to size. So if you drop any of these assets into Roll20, it just automatically grids it to the right size. Because the way it's built is the 100 pixel drops it down to 72 DPI resolution automatically. So the cuttlefish is a 4x4. It's a 20-foot vessel, 20-foot craft, and it's 400 by 400. So all these assets are already calibrated. That all you do is just drag and drop them in as you need. So I didn't build out all the individual assets, but like individual pages, because I don't know how to build PDF documents into Roll20, so I couldn't do it. But literally everything that you need for Light as Araxes is included. This is going the siege battle with the Allied fleet versus the Elven fleet. All the assets that you need, the tokens, the name off your different token squads. Warbirds, Fleet 4, Warbirds, Fleet 5, the X1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the different fleets, or the different squadrons of star moths. They're labeled with X's. Here's the different maps that you can have for the Citadel. Here's the full color, full grid. This is the underside. So we made a map for the underside. So and we have option in the adventure we explain if you want to sneak on, you can go into the underbelly and land in the forest on the underside of the Citadel, and then on foot go along to the edge and then hop up and they get to the surface of it. And then here is the top side map with the grid. I provide it with a grid for reference, and then I provide it without a grid, so you can just do snap to. This is a 10 by 10 space, so if you drop this into a 10 by 10 space in the Roll20, it just automatically snaps to grid. Its size is 1,000 by 1,000 because it occupies a 10 by 10 space at the 500-foot scale. Every asset in here just automatically snaps to scale for you. Super fucking simple. And you can go with the no grid if you want to make it clean. But if you really want to be impressed, when you go through that process with this grid on here, the 100 by 100 pixel square in the Roll20 asset, there is a vector map there's a grid already in Roll20. It automatically snaps to grid. And when you're operating at the 100 DPI resolution inside of Photoshop, when it snaps down, the width of this line is 2 pixels in Photoshop at the 100. It's 2 pixels at the 100 pixel scale. But the way that Roll20 works with its vector line, this is the same width as the vector line in Roll20 when you snap to. So the 100 pixel square with a 2 pixel line becomes basically a 1.75 pixel wide line, which is the same width of line that you have in the Roll20. It's perfect. It's so perfect. It's so easy to do. Making assets for VTT is so fucking easy. I love it. But yeah, all this shit is in there for you. So you can absolutely everything that you need. All the building systems, the mapping tools. This provides just blank templates and then circles that are already calibrated, like a 7x7. It's already calibrated to the right size. So if you make orbits for a system map, you can build tile crawls. They're not hexes or squares, but you can do a tile crawl through a system map, and we walk you through orbital movement process and how to scale, how to track that on a weekly, daily, monthly, yearly schedule. Super fun, easy. So yeah, and I built that so I could start talking about how to do this. So I could build a mecha book, so I can start doing like Neogi pirate fleets and orc fleets and elven fleets and like dwarven citadels and all that fucking shit. Now we have language for it. So anyway, I'm ranting again. I think I'm done ranting. I geek out about this shit because like when people like when it scratches that itch, it's like, this is what I was fucking looking for. It makes me so fucking proud. Like, of all the people in the world that could have made it, it was fucking me. Just makes me feel blessed. So thank you for allowing me to rant so heavy. But yeah, when we finally finish here, we log out, we'll come back. I'm building a book of subclasses. Using those mechanics, each character class gets a Spelljammer specific subclass, like a bard that's really good at commanding siege crews and fleets, like inspiration, or like a barbarian rage pilot. So like you have like a really good fighter pilot. There's a barbarian that's raging while he pilots. A tactical commander of a fighter that has both battle master maneuvers you can perform while you're piloting, and to be able to lead crews of siege weapons. Artificer can enhance and eventually create siege weapons with magic. Super fun. We're building out one for each subclass, so that'll be what we do later on today. And when we finally have all those subclasses built out, I can start doing layouts, illustration, hire an editor to clean it up. We'll do illustrations for each one of them like we're doing here. And then we'll do the same thing for the Kaiju Mecha book, building different Kaiju, building different mecha, creating scenarios to fight them. I'll be doing playtesting using Big B's Glory of the Giants, taking all of those encounters, increasing the scale to the 500 or 500 foot scale, building Dwarven Mecha or Gnomish Mecha or Warforged machines to have your adventuring party then suit up and then go attack giants on their own turf using mega-sized weapons and like giant 50-foot axes and stuff like that to fight the giants at the scale that they're at. And these hands are too long. I gotta bring those in a bit. But yep, and then we have the color mana system, but those are all 2014, so we get to update all of that. So we've spent a shitload of episodes updating all the classes for the color mana mechanics, and then the subclasses as well, and super fucking fun. Super fun. But Spelljammer and the color mechanics, I think, are going to be the last big projects that I'm doing on D&D Beyond. I believe, and all of that stuff will be done by the end of 2025. At least that's the goal. Finish all my DM stuff for 2025, so in 2026 I can start doing Kickstarters. The Guilds and Kingdoms system, that's going to be Kickstarter. I'm resource 4X style management. I've spent a lot of time talking about that in the Eberron Spelljammer Rebel Asteroid Belt campaign that's in my playlists. So if you want to see how that system works, you'll have a sneak preview there. I want to do the Asteroid Belt campaign setting. I also want to do a Wild West gold mine campaign setting for the Delvers, and I also want to do a cyberpunk net diver. Instead of being dungeon delvers or gold mine delvers, you become net delvers, and you go hunt information, fight AI sentries in the data fields, so for you to be able to collect resources that way. So it becomes a net runner sort of campaign setting, but it uses all the same mechanics of delving that we have in that book. It's just ability checks, but it's just really the premise was, if I were to make a role-playing game that all it is 5th edition ability checks, everything is resolved as an ability check using the same action economy and the same resolution die roll mechanic. What kind of a role-playing game could I build around that? And we came up with Guild Delvers. So I've been playtesting that since February with my home table, and we're running an Eberron Spelljammer asteroid belt mining operation with dwarves, gnomes, and warforged. The players own the asteroid mining guild, and the characters that they make are throwaway random characters that they just make, basically Beck Me style. Like, it takes like, you can press one button and you have a new character. Here's your character, let's go. And you build a delving mission, and it's not about do the characters succeed, it's what task are they performing for the guild. And if the characters are successful, the guild succeeds. And so you achieve your guild objective of advancing whatever it is that you're trying to advance. And as they continue, they have, like, the players have objectives for their guild, or like different areas they want to mine, or different conflicts they have with different species or whatever. And they make decisions on a week-by-week basis, like what's our highest priority right now. And if they already have characters that are good at resolving that problem, they just tap those characters, and those are the characters they're going to play this week. If there's a different objectives, like, actually, yeah, there's monsters out in space we need to fight. We don't have good fighter pilots right now, so let's build a team of mecha fighter pilots, and then go out in space, hunt down these monsters, and kill them. And they did. They spent 3 sessions doing it. They built characters like in 10 minutes, and then we assigned them fighter craft, and then they jumped aboard and they took off, and they ended up fighting. It was 200-foot mimics that were reshaping themselves to look like asteroids, so you wouldn't see them. But somehow they knew how to take the form of 6-legged octopus. So when you would find them, they would turn into an octopus and fly away. So it was like a mix between like a mimic / dark mantle at the 200-foot scale, and they're in like 50-foot mecha fighter craft. So like these things are so fucking, so like they could only get hit twice by these things before their ship would get disabled, and they would have to get repaired or find a or like have a new replacement squad or a replacement fighter craft sent out to join the squad. So when they die, it just means you queue up a new character. But there's a resource system in the guilds. So whenever you're mining asteroids, you mine X amount of asteroids, you get Y amount of resources. And so the way that the game works is, since the characters aren't very important, the way that it works is that when your character dies, you get a new one right away, because it only takes a button to make a new character. So you get a new character, you rejoin the team, but doing that costs your team a resource, because you have to expend resources to queue up new squadron members to rejoin the team to keep the team full. So you're burning human resources to have more humans help your team. So the team is okay. It's like, we can die, but if we get in overhead and we start dying too much, this week of activity, we're going to be negative. We're going to have to sell off some of our assets to afford our death. So they're weighing, like, how much can we afford to spend having characters go through this, or do we just need to hire higher level characters to deal with the threat? And that's going to be more expensive. It's going to cost you more resources. So the players think about the game from a resource perspective. What can our guild afford to do? And it's like, we need a specialist for this. So, okay, great, let's build a character. Let's build specialist characters and treat it as an adventure. So we have diplomacy missions, we have asteroid delving missions, we have asteroid defense combat missions, and we have espionage heist missions, where they're sneaking around and stealing assets and stuff, and they're using like clock timers and stuff like that to keep themselves from being discovered. Because you don't battle in espionage missions. You want to avoid detection. So when their ability checks fail, it's not them taking damage, it's them exposing themselves more. And once they hit a certain clock threshold, they've exposed themselves too much, and now the entire campaign, now their characters get caught, and they lose their characters. And so if you want to rescue your characters, you can't use espionage, because you already failed at espionage. So now maybe you want to use diplomacy to rescue your espionage team that got found and captured. So now we'll shift into a diplomacy mission and see if we can buy our team back. And if you decide just to let them die, your loyalty takes a hit. So now it's more difficult for you to hire replacements, because you have a reputation for killing your mercenaries. So that works against you. So everything folds together into this guild system where you're thinking about what resources do we have, what are our objectives to achieve, what resources do we currently have to achieve those. Do we need to buy new or hire new assets to be able to achieve it, or do we already have assets in the field that can take on the task and gain more experience to become higher level teams, so they can take on new tasks in the future. So we're always bouncing between those different dynamics, and it's kind of a different sort of role-playing game. So it's strong enough though that we can go to market with it. So I'm expecting, hopefully the trademark will come through in the next week or so, and it'll officially be mine, and I can start building out stuff with that. And we'll have a play test, probably have play testing like probably Wild West Gold Heist sort of campaign. We'll probably start play testing that, I think, in April, and then we'll start building out the Netrunner Ghost in the Shell style campaign, and we probably do that maybe in October or November next year. But once we go through those 3 different formats, we should have a robust enough system to be able to start looking at doing a Kickstarter project where we offer all 3 of the Asteroid Belt campaign, not Eberron, file off the serial numbers, but Asteroid campaign, Wild West campaign, and Cyberpunk campaign. We should be able to demonstrate the rules being used in all 3 of those settings. And then so we'll have the core book, and then we'll have a Kickstarter stretch goals for starting with the asteroids, stretch goal into Wild West, stretch goal into Cyberpunk, and so that's the idea right now. That's the thought. So we playtest. I playtest all my shit, and I playtest my stuff on my Discord server. So anyone that's ever interested in this stuff, you're always welcome to jump into the server and volunteer to participate. And if we have more people than needed, then we'll have backups and stuff like that, like first come first serve sort of thing. Which can it might not be the best way to do it, but I don't have enough momentum right now to have like multiple scheduled games running, and I certainly wouldn't be able to do all of them. So I'm still just me. So God's grace will be able to build out to a point where we have all that. But I've been ranting for a while. I should touch base and see what's going on. Oh yeah, right on. Yeah, I've seen pieces of that. It's not the way that I did things, but I suspect there's going to be stuff from the samples that I've seen of Ryoko. I suspect there's things that could be useful and work with what we have. So I like the idea, like the weaknesses is a pretty obvious system to implement. So that's great to see that. Scaling, obviously the way that I scale things is to be more visceral, like get bigger things to fight bigger things. But I think Ryoko is like fight bigger things on your own. And I don't necessarily know if that is going to. It's house rules on top of house rules. When you start blending house rules with house rules, results start to become really unstable. So I'd like to think that whatever is going to be in Ryoko's is going to generally work with the stuff that I've presented. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. It's not like we coordinated with each other. Why would they? But yeah, mad respect. There's obviously a strong interest in kaiju and mecha in 5e. I personally don't think anything's really perfectly scratched the itch yet. But I'll spend a year and a half developing a book before I publish it. Just to make sure I've covered all the angles and that it works and that it scratches the itch and that it's answering all the questions that you need to be able to be effective. Like long development. It's probably going to keep me from being able to ever upscale into a real business, but it'll be really solid indie product. What's up? The back Rokos, and yeah, you bet. Oh my God, thank you. God bless you. What is it? 9:30? Yeah, I'm gonna get another half hour. I've been ranting too much. That took away from my art time. So we gotta put time back on the clock. This is my day off. I have a full-time day job. I'm a remote worker. I work from home. I crunch numbers. So we got. This is my I work in the advertising department of a marketing firm, and I crunch numbers for like lead analysis and stuff like that. So it's a computer box, white collar sort of gig. And during COVID, the company drastically reduced its footprint, and so we all became remote. And so that means that on a normal day of the week, I get to wake up, pour a pot of coffee, drop into the computer here, and do about an hour and a half worth of artwork when I wake up, and then log out, go do my day job. And if it's a lunchtime design job, if it's a lunchtime design day like Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays, then I log out of the work machine and then fire up the camera and jump online here and do book design for like an hour-ish, and then log out, go back to work, finish my day, and then I do like writing and layout and futzy stuff off screen, and then interact with the family, and then come back and jump back online again the next day. And then on Saturday I have a brunch stream that I run from like 9 a.m. till noon. So 5 days, Monday through Friday in the morning I do artwork. Monday, Tuesday, Friday lunchtime I do stream. Thursday night I do stream for a couple hours, and then Saturday morning I do stream. So yeah, that's 10 times per week. 5 times in the morning doing pure artwork like this, and then design work in the evenings and at lunchtime. If I get done with design of another book and I'm still working on this Eberron adventure, I'll start. I might double stack and do artwork in the evening, like on my Thursday evening stream and my lunch times. But I generally like staying with design during those shorter bursts. And so the way that I work is I have a primary project. My primary project is typically whatever needs art. In this instance, it's this Eberron adventure. And I can tell I'm off base because I'm grinding way too hard on these little bits of anatomy. I need to just resolve this. This is fine, Phil. I know you love working with skin folds and imperfections in people, but you're doing cool, guy. You can move on. You can move on, man. You're gonna have to put clothes on her eventually anyway, so don't hyperfixate. I do need to make sure it's the right size, though. I think the proportions are a little off. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit. That'll be fine for now. And then the arms, got to make sure it's too meaty. Needs thinner arms. The head is the height. So we're going to do this. I'm going to just take this little bubble here. So your shoulder should be, from your shoulder to your elbow should be one head. And that's roughly where we're at here. And that's about where we're at back here. And then from your elbow to your wrists is another head, which is about where we're at here. It should be a little short because of the curved perspective. And then the hand is half a head. So these are actually accurate ratios. So I can clean that up. I always do really thick legs. I'm a thick leg guy. My own anatomy, I have very thick legs. So all my characters end up having thick legs. Whether a guy or a girl, it doesn't matter. They're always thickies. Regardless of personal preferences. There we go, like that. And we have a little shadow work here, so that sits good. There, so we have S'mores is looking like he's got some leather armor going on. We talked about this last time. Leather armor isn't that difficult to sleep in, so that's cool. I wanna start sprucing her up a bit. So let's get that clavicle proper. This clavicle here, sternocleidomastoid. There we go. So what is it? It's 9:30. I'll stick around for another half hour, and then I'll log out. And then I want a 2-hour break, and then I'll come back at noon, and we'll start working on Spelljammer subclasses some more. That book is really coming along, and I don't need to worry about scope sprawl so much. 13 classes, 1 subclass each. Basically, I'll probably make it like $4, and then but it's just an excuse to create a bundle for the Spelljammer book. Like the Spelljammer book's the only one I have right now, but like if you go down here and you look at the color mana spell point variant rules, here it's a bundle and it's like 6 books. So like the revised color mana spell list, spell point warlocks, elemental key for monks, tap on tap burn, the core mechanics, color mana spell point variant rules, specific rules for knights and tricksters. This was the original base mechanics of what tap on tap burn, color mana mechanics are, and this is just a universal spell point system that replaces what was in DMG 2014. But it was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books. This one's pay what you want. This one's pay what you want. This one's like $5. This one's like $13. This one's $5. This one's pay what you want. This one's $3. And then we have regular price $3, but in this bundle it's like $2. Like this is it's pay what you want listed as $2, but if you just pick it up, pay what you want, and don't pay anything for it, then that 50 cents in the bundle gets dropped, right? This is $5, but it's $3.50 here. $13, only $10 here. This one's also this one's $3, but only $1 in the bundle. This one's listed as $2, but it's actually pay what you want, so you could get it for free and reduce the cost of the bundle by $1. Also, pay what you want. You could pay $2 or you could pay nothing, up to you. But if you do and you buy this bundle, that again whittles off $1 price if it's pay what you want. So like whittle down the cost of $1, $2, $2.50, and now instead of being $18.95, it's now $16.50. So like, or you could buy them all if you want to support me, whatever. But I'll end up doing this with the Spelljammer book. Spelljammer will be the core book. It'll be the flagship in the fleet, and then all like the subclasses and the mecha kaiju and like Nyogi pirates, Forsaken Dwarven Citadel. These are all different things I can build out as map assets and stuff, like the asteroid belt, like the asteroid rock asset bundle. It's like 130 different asteroids we made. I can bundle all those things together into the Spelljammer book to start creating this subset core for variant rules inside of D&D, inside of the DMsGuild. So that's how we roll. And I'm happy Revivified is still number 2 on the guild. It's only behind Keith Baker's fucking Wild West setting for Eberron. It's the only thing that's beating us out right now. This is such a great book. All 69 subclasses that weren't in the 2024 player handbook we have in this book here, and it just went gold medal this week. Super! It came out in October, and it's gold medal already. This is the fastest moving book I've ever been involved in. I'm thrilled with it. But anyway, back to work. But yeah, so the Spelljammer book is eventually going to be part of a larger bundle. So I'm looking forward to continuing developing that out. So let's figure out what kind of. I'm going to make a duplicate of this because I'm really happy with how she looks. So let's go here. She kind of has like a pixie look to her, but I'm pretty happy with it. So we can feel like I just want to have like a simple tunic. Like, not depicting her in armor feels good. But the language of camping often in RPGs is for characters to be like in actual battle armor. You can't really relax in full plate. I mean, I've worn brigadine and chain, and this stuff is heavy, but it's not restful. I can't. I would imagine full plate would be even less so. I've worn brigadine and chain, and this stuff is heavy, but it's not restful. I can't. There and there, and put a little crease in there. That feels good. So yeah, we make books, we test them, and then we illustrate them here online, and then we publish them, and then we talk about the book after it's published. Like, hey, look at this, or you can do this with it, or here's an idea. And like, if you check out my Spelljammer, there's like a dozen Spelljammer videos about like, hey, here's a cool little mechanic. What's up? Oh God, I don't know, but it is in a Google Doc that has read-only access that I'll be sure to point out when we run the stream later on today. So whether you're around or not, it'll be on my YouTube channel, so you can check it out. But I'll make sure that the read-only link is that I pointed out, so you can go in and you can take a look at it. So I don't know when it's going to publish, but it will be something you can read right now. It's a living document, so the document that I'm going to be writing in at lunch today will be the document that you're looking at, and you are welcome to start using any of them at any time. I can hear myself. That feels wrong. I think I must have nudged my volume at some point. Yeah. I don't want to mute it because then YouTube thinks it's a bot, but I don't want it to be noisy enough to be heard. So. There, that feels good. Yeah, that feels good. Let's conceal that up a little bit. It's cold. It's in the autumn, near around this time. So around harvest time, during this adventure. So I can't have bare sleeves. I was gonna have to have at least some bundling going on. So I'm trying to minimize, like forearms at most would be forearms and faces and neck would be like the most amount of exposure you'd actually want to have in this kind of weather. So I want to have their clothing reflect that. Yeah, my biggest problem is I'd say my biggest problem is also a strategy of mine is working on a shitload of the book at the same time. It prevents me from burning out on anything. Burnout is my biggest risk. If I lose my creative vibe, I can't art, I can't write, and that puts me dead in the water. I become useless. So for me to be able to dodge burnout like that, I run multiple projects at different stages. So like if I were to burn out on Eberron, I could take a week off and work on Kaiju, for instance, or I could work on the net delver idea. So I can always shift gears and move back and forth until I feel inspired again. It's like, okay, great, I can re-engage this now. Speaking of that, I think I want to upsize this a snig. There. I saw text scrawling. Give me a second, I'll catch up with you. Yeah, right on. I'm really happy. We all find our tribe eventually. So I think I just hit my 3rd year of streaming. What a pathetic growth spiral. You know, like I'm barely like I struggle. Like I need 3,000 hours and 500 subscribers for me to hit just the first tier of being acknowledged as somebody that's worth something to YouTube. And like yesterday I had on Wednesday I had 79 views, and yesterday I had 9, and I have to get 3,000 hours for me to gain my first rank of like partnership in YouTube, and 500 subscribers. I'm at like 488, but it's been like I get like 4 or 5 per month maybe, and potentially lose up to 3. when I had 2,934 hours accumulated on Wednesday, and then when I came back yesterday, I had 9 views yesterday. So when I logged on this morning, I was actually at 2,929 hours. I actually lost 5 hours in my progress because my momentum is so slow that if I don't show up, I don't build. It's because there's nothing there's it's just live streams. Like 95% of what I do is live stream, and it has very little low vertical lift, and so it doesn't get a lot of attention, and it's incredibly specialized content beyond that in a niche corner of a niche industry that doesn't make a lot of money. So like if I gain anyone, it's a fucking miracle. But I keep showing up. Again, this is an opportunity for me to be able to get work done every day, and to be able to speak from my heart and let myself just let things flow, and whatever is going to end up happening ends up happening. And I just think it's funny. Like I could probably do things like a lot different if I wanted to make my channel like explode or whatever. I could probably approach this in a completely different model. But this is something I can sustain for 3 years, whether people are looking or not. And that was the objective of this project. Like this is something like I'll eventually, people will find me. It will be of interest, and it's going to become whatever it is that God wants it to become. That is not my concern. My concern is being able to show up and get shit done, in whatever manner that is. So I am achieving my side of the agreement, and whatever happens as a result of it, it doesn't matter because I'm getting stuff done. Like I stopped being a freelance artist for the most part because I couldn't get paid when I wanted to get paid as an artist per piece for me to be able to build something that I could feel was worth my time and sustainable. So once I stopped being a freelance artist and switched over to doing game design, now it's the artwork that I make supports the book that I'm selling. I am an independent book publisher that happens to make art to create custom books. It's the books that people are buying, and then so on the back end, I can justify the time invested making artwork like this. It's technically PR time, right? I can write this off as time well spent. Because the artwork becomes unique, it makes it that much more specific to the book that's being created, so it becomes a custom indie experience. And the more time I have to talk about this and makes like I'm still changing text inside of the book, because even a piece of artwork will change my perspective about like a particular scene. It's like, you know what, I could add in an extra line just to make mention of some random point. like the chance of attracting monsters while you're having combat in the village square. Like, that's a super subtle detail that I didn't honestly think about until I was breaking down each individual building in the map in the build here. And it's like, you know what? It would make a lot of sense that the monsters over here would hear you here. And we didn't spend a ton of time in the village during playtesting. We got into the forest and into the dungeons. But I did have two teams that did spend an entire session talking to people, talking to villagers. And then I had another session where all the villagers were dead. But that was all pre-planned. So now I'm looking at like how we structure random encounters a little bit differently. And like, you know what? I could have like a chance of attracting monsters from different areas to you based on how long your combat lasts. That wasn't something I explored, but it makes sense. So I had an opportunity to like to resculpt some of the language inside of different areas. It's like, you know, if you're however many rounds of combat you're fighting, roll a d6. If the amount of rounds that you're is a d10. If the amount of rounds that you're fighting is equal to or less than the rounds of combat have been occurring, you attract a new horde of monsters and your combat size just doubled. So if we have a bunch of little battles that only have 2 or 3 monsters, those are easy encounters that your team can take out in maybe 1 or 2 rounds, maybe 3 if something goes horribly wrong. So that basically means like on a 1 in 10 chance of you fighting like a random monster or 2, it could turn into 10. It's like, shit. And now you're having to run and gun away from a bunch of zombies that are coming after you. And if that goes badly, you could attract more zombies and it becomes a horde. And now you're starting to think, well, maybe this is a fireball situation. We're only 7th level, but this is starting to feel like a pretty heavy AoE scenario. And now we're out of spells. We're going to need to take a long rest. So now we have our camp. So that's like a really good example of like a fun little mechanic that changes the tension without having to affect the structure of the adventure at all. It's just a little perk. Like it's like a little bit of pepper. Put a little pepper in it. But sometimes you don't think of things until you actually start doing layouts and you have more time to spend with the maps. But that's just part of the creative process. So I'm blessed that I'm not part of some sort of longer production pipeline that's like, I might have ideas as an artist, but fuck off, that wasn't your job. Like most of the time when we're freelance artists, I don't even see the page that the art is going to be on. It's just, I need a picture of, you know, the snake eating a cat or something like that. Whatever. And that's random. But I won't know the context. That's just, I'm just a monkey, you know. I'm just an art monkey. Tell me what to draw. But when I get to be the creator and the writer and the cartographer and the illustrator, I always hire an artist. I always hire an editor. Always hire a separate editor, just to make sure that you're shit testing yourself, and that if there are any flaws, your editor will pick up on it and will help you with your language and blah blah blah. But being the source of production like that, it's like I can discover things as I delve deeper into it. Like creating a style for this book is helping create a mood for the adventure, and then I get to see is the language that I'm using in the descriptive boxes, are those helping? Is the artwork complementing that description, and what's better for me to change, the artwork or the description? 50-50, you know. Sometimes it's better to change the description. Okay, since I have that level of control over each individual page, I can just go in and I can spot it and just, you know, update the text. Like, good, now this language respect, like I didn't mention, like maybe it'd be smart if the way that this is sequencing, like the way that I'm going to put, like a good example is like the way that I'm putting the buildings on the pages for the different little building maps for encounters. Maybe I should change the numbers on the buildings so that they stack up differently to lead the characters around the village in a different path. Like these are things I can decide as I'm doing the layouts to see what's the best layout I have. Because it doesn't really matter what order people go visit different buildings. They're going to go visit whatever building they want. It doesn't matter what order they're placed in the book. But that order can imply a sequence of events. So I have to be careful when I'm putting like book descriptions in. I need to make sure that I'm not using that chronological bias that I had during playtesting to dictate how I describe things that are in each location. Because if you can get to each location independently,
you don't want to be you don't want to be referencing stuff that they haven't potentially encountered before. So you have to be particular about how you word and what things you add to the sequence of descriptions that you provide to make sure that you're not dropping details, because you're working off of your memory of how the adventure worked when you tested it, as opposed to how it's actually going to be consumed by somebody that hasn't seen it before. So that's actually really important. But you can manipulate that because there isn't this bound chronological order in which they're going to approach each of these buildings. That gives me the freedom to sequence them in any way that I want to make the pages look the best. So I can look at that from the assets of the adventure, the timing and the experiences of the adventure are now weighing into how am I building, how am I putting the adventure together, how am I describing things. Sorry, ranting again, but this is this is the first like Light of Xeraxis. That was the first attempt to do that was just in a conversion guide. The content already existed, so I didn't actually have to create it. All I had to do is just explain how to redo it so you could use the Spelljammer rules. Meanwhile, this is a completely built from scratch, home brewed, home tested adventure that is strong in what we intended to publish. Like, let's make an Eberron adventure, because Eberron is my favorite campaign setting, and I've been using it since 2004. But this is the first time I've actually published. I need to be careful with that jaw. You don't want to have too square of a jawline on a gal, otherwise it won't read right. There. So it's Friday, which means this is the last day in this week I'll be doing art stream. I want to add some sleeves here. That's going to help a lot on how this is presenting. There. Slim those arms down a little bit. Medieval garb, a doublet would be like, here's your coat, right? And then here's your neck hole here. And the way that doublets would work is that they're just basically vests. And then the sleeves would be tied on to the doublet, so you'd have sleeves like this, but you could actually just, if you cut the strings, the sleeve would fall off, or you untie the knots on them, or you leave them knotted, and you put it on and off like a coat. But then underneath the doublet, you'd have just a tunic, which would just be like a loose, almost like a pajama top, with like the puffy sleeves and stuff like that. That was to fill in, to keep the wind away from the tied-on doublet, because there's just strings here that tied these things, which were open. So you needed to make sure you had a good closed garment underneath it to keep the wind out. And then you have like your whatever kind of skirt it is that you're gonna wear, whether you're a guy or a girl, it doesn't matter. Everyone wore skirts back then. So that's where I'm. This doublet idea is where I'm coming from right now. With these sleeve designs. So I've got the doublet. I guess technically it's a pauldron, although it's certainly not armor. But it's still that same sort of, I don't know that cuff, the language for the shoulder. I don't think it's called a shoulder cuff. And I know pauldron isn't the right word either, but I don't know the fabric anatomy word for that. But this basically becomes a thick leather, like a padded armor sort of overlay, which does add, like leather armor is warm. Like leather armor by a side of a fire, you can sleep in leather. Like you can sleep in leather as easy as you can sleep in a leather jacket. It's a-okay. And it helps build warmth. So it's like leather is good garb around the fire. Drop your, I don't know if she has chain or plate somewhere, but here at the fire, she's just going to be in loose. She's just going to be in her leathers, just like S'mores is. Just put that like that. In the frame, the way that the body is built, see, it just naturally has like these leather thigh bracers on there. Just naturally fits into the piece. So it's light armor. It's just leather. Super simple, very easy, comfortable. And the material will be able to confirm that it's leather that we're dealing with, not metal, by the way that I have reflections of lighting on it, and preventing hard edge with hard reflection. It'll be softer than that, so it'll feel like fabric, and so you'll be able to infer this is just hardened leather. This is just light armor. And she's looking really fucking good. It's still a little loose, but I think it's strong enough now for me to put a layer of a color. We do cell style, like comic book style shade coloring, where I'll have the line art and then I'll put the color underneath it. And then I'll do the lighting and highlights on the color separate from the line art. And then I'll merge the line art with the color so I can start working the line art into the piece as the actual form that you're looking at. So instead of it being line art, it becomes highlights and shadow on the color that we already have underneath it. And then we'll texture it and then add in details and stuff like that. And I don't have to go crazy on it because of the size of the piece that we're working with. But yeah, that's feeling really, really strong. So I'm going to take all of this shit here. I'm going to drop this all into the trash folder. When we finish the document, I can go back through and I start destroying all the trash layers that we dumped, all the discarded stuff, to reduce the footprint of the file on my hard drive when I save it and put it in storage, basically. Trash file. Yeah, and I think I need to change the resolution, change the size, bring her up a bit. Right across like this. There. One, two. Sorry, let's do heads. Let's do heads. So her head's naturally going to be like this. I mean, it's a weird shaped head, but whatever. So that's our size, right? That's the size of a head. So one head down should be the bottom of her breasts. So right about there. That was about right. It seems like it's a little bit big still. So let's make her head a little bit smaller. All right, let's do that again here. There. So one down. There you go. Bottom there, and then next is to the groin, and then the last head down to the bottom of the feet. So from the butt to the top of the head should be about 4 heads. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's about right. It's a little off, but it feels right. The proportions. This is an instance where I want to argue: do I want to be anatomically perfect, or do I want to be close enough, but make it feel better as an illustration? And this is an instance where I think I can be a little bit off on my proportions, but it's going to feel better as an illustration. So I can back off and give myself that little bit of grace without really being nitpicky about it. I can be nitpicky about her nose and her lip cleft instead. There. Let's get rid of that. What time is it? It's 10 o'clock? I've got 3 minutes left on my beep, so I'm going to go ahead and let this be my end. I'll be back in 2 hours to work on Spelljammer subclasses. I'll make sure I have a link to the document there for folks. Yeah, holy shit, that looks great. That looks good now. Perfectly happy. Perfectly happy. The campfire. I think I actually want to drop the flame on the campfire a smidge. So let's do that. Let's go to free. Here, that feels good. We have our trees, we have our background scrub. Campfire's good. Let's add crouch in. This probably means I can back her up a bit here. That feels good. And we can take crouch. We can pull crouch back a smidge. Let's change his angle just a touch. And then put the guard back in. She's looking good. I'm gonna take the campfire and I think I want to scoot it just a touch. Like that. There we go. Decent piece. I don't have to really worry about this bottom edge here, but I will be able to add some shrub. I like doing foreground shrubbery to cut off the end. Here, I'll show you. Drop down here. For example, on the book cover that we did for the Color Mana Spell Point variant rules. Oh, there's a big obnoxious thing in the way, but let's open the image in the next tab. There we go. Bop. There we go. So you can see, like I like to use foliage as framework in trees and nature to surround a scene. And then down here at the bottom, you can see that I'm just using a lot of foliage and color. Leaves and stuff to block it in, but the dark shadow of it can just drop into black, so I can have Myphil Kearney. I don't even use my name on stuff anymore, just to cover. But this is too much of a title. I'm going to change this. It's just going to be Color Mana Spell Point variant. Color Mana Spell Points. I don't need this big old title. I don't know what I was thinking. It's too much of a mouthful. Color Mana Spell Points. Super fucking simple. That's going to be the rebuild when we rebrand it. But yeah, so this is the same idea. So this framing that I have at the top and the bottom of the piece, and keeping your eye drawn in the center by using all that foliage is basically as like a loose frame, like a painting frame helps box in and guide the eye a little bit around the piece a little bit more. So I'm in the same process of doing that with this here. So we'll be able to have some foliage and some rocks, like some rough rocks and roots and stuff around here off camera. And there's my timer. So that's going to be it for now. Holy shit, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for letting me tangent and tear around with you guys. It feels nice to have a good long art stream. It's yeah, good stuff. So that's it for now. I will be back in 2 hours to do more Spelljammer stuff. So that'll be noon till possibly 3. We'll see how much progress we make. It could be anywhere from 1 to 3 hour stream this afternoon, and depending on where that settles, I may or may not have another break and then come back. So I'll either have one more session or I'll have a second session. If I do, it'll probably be like Theurgy subclasses or something like that. But hey, thanks, Karen. I hope your foot continues to heal and that you're back up and dancing soon. And everyone else that caught up on the stream, God bless y'all. I really appreciate you being here. Like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Check out my stuff. Jump on my Discord. I'll see everybody in the future. Cheers.